Hello everyone, and welcome back to Star Trek Amaterasu, a Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition game using the rules by Modifius
Mm.
Entertainment. My name is E06, the Game Master, and joining me are three lovely individuals who will meet right now so we can get into playing, because if you're watching this live on Twitch, you probably saw the notification that we're dealing with radioactive Borg lava today. I can't imagine what that's going to be like, but we'll start with
Hot,
Matthew.
probably.
Yeah. Matthew, who are you playing and anything you want to shout out?
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I am playing the Cardassian medical officer Amin Matan, and I have nothing to shout out.
Nothing? Nothing at all?
I mean, other than my existential dread and terror and some sort of primal scream, I could shout that out, but no.
Let it all out. Yeah.
Do
I
it.
think
This is a safe space.
Do it, coward.
No, it's. I have too much reserve for that. Self-respect.
But I like Bean's approach there to mental health by heckling.
that's a good one. All right, Tekka, what do you got going on?
Hi everyone. Same feelings of existential dread and all of that. But I am playing Jeanette Cato. He was a Betazoid lieutenant commander on board the Amaterasu, and I likewise have nothing to shout out this week.
All right. Bean, what do you got going on?
Hello, I'm Bean_Goblin, and I can make you yell out your emotions. Mwah. Also, I'm playing the AI, which will not try to take over the ship this week, I guess. Pleasure to meet you all. I am not shouting out anything because my brain is all fuzzy today. Bye.
Okay. All right. And on that note, we will run the intro and get started. And welcome back. So, as is tradition on Star Trek Adventure shows on my channel, I have the players doing an opening log, but I think I forgot to get Matthew a start date, so feel free to make one up if you'd like, and we'll just go from there.
I'll just go with medical officer's log.
That'll work.
Medical officer's log. After 2 months spent in transit from and to and from again the Ontario shipyard, the Amaterasu is, at long last, on the precipice of beginning our mission. Again. In only a few short hours, we'll be crossing into the Andromeda Galaxy, reaching a frontier beyond anything accessible by way of current Federation interstellar transit technology. Everything is in perfect itemized order. Stores are loaded and cataloged. Biobeds are properly aligned and at uniform regulation height down to the millimeter. Lieutenant Azar has finally been worn down to the point that she is using my infinitely more efficient categorization algorithms and systems. Therefore, sickbay is humming along like a well-lubricated, self-stealing stem bolt, almost on automation, the very definition of beauty. Nonetheless, I must admit to being less enthused about the mission than I was 2 months ago. A sentiment I believe is shared by many among the crew. There's an overriding sense of trepidation, as if everyone is expecting yet another delay. My misgivings are both personal and professional. When first I accepted this mission, I envisioned an odyssey in another galaxy, years of deep space exploration, encounters with new life forms and civilizations. So much to see, so much to learn, so much to categorize and file away. A lifetime worth of study. Now I fear as if I may have signed on to serve as a trauma surgeon. Our first contact began with a battle and ended with a de facto declaration of war with a polity of unknown military strength, technological advancement, and territory. From what little they've disclosed of themselves, they are colonizers and conquerors with designs on Andromeda. With so little in the way of discernible details or empirical evidence, I can only see my own people's grim and abhorrent past reflected in them, or perhaps projected onto them. Of course, that does leave room for optimism. If the Federation could teach my people a better way, well, hope, conviction, and the courage to retain them. That's what the Amaterasu needs. Now I'm saying it incorrectly too. End log.
We have a momentum for that. And Chad, I do see you've already redeemed a complication. We'll get to that shortly. But I actually have good news for Matan, at least, is that you actually finally get to go through Pandora's Gate this time. So just like the intro, we kind of see a spinning gate that is maintaining a subspace portal. Unlike the intro, nothing comes out of it this time. The Amaterasu flies into the portal, and outside, if you're looking out of a window, you would see a swirling white vortex of colors, and eventually you come out the other side. But one thing that has been kept secret to everybody except in the command staff is that when you emerge on the other side of Pandora's Gate, there's a surprise waiting for you. And what I mean by surprise is that there are hundreds of broken planet killers. Yes, the very same planet killers that were evident in the original series episode. Was it Doomsday? I think it was Doomsday.
The Doomsday Machine, I think.
Doomsday Machine, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So these things are made out of neutronium, one of the hardest, most dense, most invulnerable anything that anyone knows about. And I want you to imagine that somebody has taken those planet killers and snapped them over their knee like a stick. Like it was no effort, just over the knee, just completely shattered. And what I want to know is where all of you are at when this revelation starts to come across, where you're either looking at a window or one of your underlings comes in and tells you about it. And I just want to hear a little bit about that. So why don't we start with Matan, actually. Where would you be when this happens, and how would you react to the news?
So I think that Matan is probably in his sickbay, and he's just orchestrating the sort of final preparations for the mission. Probably one of the ensigns, the nurses on staff, informs him of this because of a little bit of scuttlebutt that's quickly raced its way down. Mm-hmm. He kind of cocks a brow at that, fiddles with his mustache, and then goes into his office after excusing himself, sits down, and then just stares at the external view on his medical terminal, trying to calculate the various different forces that would be required, such that he realizes that it would be utterly astronomical, quite literally, that nothing that the Federation possesses could even come close to the necessary force to do this to a series of vessels made of neutronium.
All right. Kato, what are you doing when this revelation comes to pass?
I'm trying to remember the name of our bar.
I think it's Six Star.
Six Star. So I'm in Six Star, which has a starboard view, if memory serves, rather than being, because it's not forward, it's starboard, which hence the name. So I'd like to think I'm there, sort of in the midst of the crew, tuned into the Council of Troy channel, just sort of getting a feel for what people are feeling and how intensely, as you know, this sort of view is just out the huge windows that are in that venue. I'd like to think, you know, just sitting at a table near one of those windows, just like with a cup of tea or of something similar, and just sort of not admiring the view. Perhaps there's trepidation there, but certainly looking out the window and taking it in.
All right. And then finally, I guess I know you're everywhere and pretty much every when at once, but how do you take the news?
I feel like primary Argus is on the bridge, and instead of is there a chief tactical officer?
There is. Let me consult my notes. I actually think that might actually be Commander Mara
Okay,
because
so
she
instead of
doubles as chief intelligence and chief tactical.
mm, so instead of being at the tactical display, I'm going to be like in the slightly off the side in more of just like observant advisory role. At which point the AI core of Igus does like flex into a defensive stance,
Mhm.
but then realizing that the thing which is in her database as a planet destroyer, none of them seem to be functioning. She does seem to relax to it and just seems to be scanning herself at the field if the crew allow me to do so.
Mhm. Yeah. Why don't we get you a roll here? Why don't you give me a reason and a science? The Amaterasu will assist you with a sensor science, and we're just going to call this difficulty of 0, so free momentum here.
Mhm.
I've got the Amaterasu open, so I'll roll that. It was
Sensor
sorry, what was it?
science.
Sensors science.
I make it a computer science for it to go over the records that we may have from this area, or is that blacklisted from my ability to look at?
I'll give it to you. We can do computer science instead.
Yeah.
Mechanically makes no difference.
And does for me, because
Fair enough.
whenever the ship is assisting with a computers or communications, instead of rolling, it comes as a 1.
Oh,
Thank you
so
for
we already
letting me
have two
be a cheeky
successes.
little
All right,
goblin.
I will close that window.
And
Here to help.
so I'm sorry, sorry, Techno. All right, so I don't think I have a focus unless strategy, as in it like looking into what was this a battle or was this a dismantling?
I'll give it to you. Why not?
Awesome.
All right, so that is a
Um,
grand total of 3 successes when we include the 2 from the ship. So that is 3 momentum, bringing you up to 4 total. Now, I guess when you scan the field, you can confirm that none of the planet killers are active,
sorry.
that none of the planet killers show any signs of life whatsoever. They are very much inert and dormant. And again, your sensors are telling you that somebody snapped this like a twig, and probably just like Matan and probably just like Kato, you're starting to realize something very much outside of Starfleet did this. Something very much outside the realm of what is known did this. And because you succeeded so well, you actually detect this before anybody else. There are ships decloaking off the port bow.
Captain, there are ships decloaking off the port bow, and I will give the exact how many miles away they are from the ship.
And Captain Kaffa, again the calm Vulcan, she kind of steeples her fingers and goes, "That is to be expected, I guess. Please open comms."
Opening comms.
Attention, Federation Peacekeeping Force. This is the U.S.S. Amaterasu. No need for concern. We are here as per ordered. And at this point, Kato, you would see out of the view, out of the windows of Six Star at this point, that decloaking are 3 Defiant class starships as they emerge from whatever space you want to call cloaking space. Um, but on the bridge, since I guess you're there, a communication comes back, audio only, that says, "Very good, Amaterasu. We've been keeping the area safe from those aliens that slipped through the gate earlier. We have not seen any indication where they went, but just be on the lookout for them." And Kaffa just sort of nods. This is very good. You may return to your cloaking procedures. And sure enough, as soon as they arrived, they shimmer out of existence and are cloaked and completely gone. And at this point, Kaffa says, "Helm, please take us out of the subspace node into the Andromeda Galaxy proper. 1/4 impulse, please."
I
And
make a text request to the captain whether if she wants the record of those 3 vessels expunged, because I'm pretty sure that the Federation is not meant to have cloaking technology still. I may be wrong because of timeline, but
Well, what you actually get back in a text communication as she types in her chair is that the I forget the name of the treaty off the top of my head, but the Romulan
Algernon.
treaty, is it the Treaty of Algernon? Is it?
Yeah.
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 Or
Okay.
Algeron.
Yeah. There we go. According to that treaty, the Federation can't use it in the Milky Way galaxy. Doesn't say anything about the
Oh,
Andromeda
they're
galaxy.
being very loopholey. I
Yep.
see.
But the captain does says yes. Please scrub them from the records. Anything outside the subspace node is fair game to record, but while you are in the subspace node with the planet killers, don't retain any records.
The simple I captain, as I will begin the procedure of like putting all that into temporary memory.
Okay. Now, unless anybody wants to do anything on the transit out of the subspace node, what's going to happen is after about an hour's worth of staring at planet killers, they begin to vanish into the darkness of space, the stars begin to return, and you are looking at an alien starscape, meaning that nobody really has explored this area of space, nobody has really seen what's out here, except for a very select few individuals. And it is at this point that Kaffa says, I guess please give me a shipwide communication.
You are patched in, Captain.
Attention all hands, this is the captain. As I have told Igus, anything that you just saw in that subspace node is to be kept off the record. No personal logs, no official logs, nothing of the sort. Other than that, anything outside of the subspace node, the stars you are seeing currently, any communications we receive, distress calls, anything of the sort, feel free. It is fair game, because we are finally at the final frontier, everyone. Please enjoy the next several years of hopeful study in this galaxy. I look forward to working hand in hand with each and every one of you. Captain out.
And I will end the com.
All right. Now it's great because the captain's like, well, Helm, I like that second star on the left. Can we? And before she can even say that, another comm officer says, ma'am, we're getting a distress call? And Kaffa just does the Vulcan eye quirk and go, of course, we've been here for 4 minutes, and of course we're already getting a distress call to play it. And what actually ends up happening is I want you to imagine like a Horda, but the Horda has become more or less, how do I want to describe this? So a Horda is the silicon-based life form that kind of looks just like a living mound of lava or a living mound of dirt that's kind of just shuffling along. Now imagine that, but it's green and is more or less blocky, where it still kind of looks semi-organic, but it's kind of like geometric shapes shuffling around, if you will. And it makes a noise. The universal translator has no idea what it's saying, and then the transmission cuts out. And it's at this point that Mara stands up and says, well, I know exactly who to put on this problem, Captain. I'll be right back.
Would you like me to call them to the usual meeting room, Commander?
I'm pretty sure Matan's already in sickbay. I'll go ahead and meet them there.
10 Commander Cato to sick bay 3.
Yes, on my way.
We
As
do one
I
of
will
those, do one of those
zip
80s.
into like just materialize after after I give that call. So
Yeah.
just materialize in the sick bay.
Right. But we do one of those 80s, 90s, like cartoon, and we emerge in sickbay 3. We're walking in with Kato and I guess appearing. Matan, you're already there. But Commander Mara steps in and goes, right, team. We got strange new species that's apparently saying a distress call. We have no idea what they're saying. And yeah, how do we want to go about this?
If you would like to put the picture of the species up on the screen.
Of course, yes, please do.
I suppose I need to ask the obvious question, Commander. If we can't understand what they're saying, and given this is an entirely new galaxy that we are in, and I for one cannot wait to get exploring, how do we know it's a distress call?
That is a very fair point. Matan, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, in all likelihood, there's a repetition of the code that's being sent, as in an SOS, but that's just a supposition. What a fascinating species. I've never seen anything like it.
Is it is quite weird. It looks like a bunch of Lego blocks that are just sort of moving about. It's really weird.
Like Lego blocks
Oh,
from
Terran
Legalis
thing,
4.
yeah.
Hmm.
Terran toy. You
Oh, I'm
basically
thinking of
had
something
building
different.
blocks that you built on one another. It was a whole thing.
Oh, Blue Bricks. Yes,
Well,
I had some at the academy.
Going back to the signal itself, it is merely just a algorithm probability due to various first contacts when it comes to this sort of situation. A short burst repeating message is normally a distress call in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean that's certainly the case in all of the sectors of the galaxy in which we operate. Our galaxy, obviously. I'm just putting out a caution, I suppose, that this could be nothing more than navigational data or a keep out of our territory, or even an advert for uh, um, edge polishing materials, or some other innocent and innocuous kind of message that we're interpreting in perhaps the wrong way, given where we're from.
Besides the fact that if it is a please keep out of our space message, all of those other options would require us to investigate.
I
Well,
don't
yes,
know if there was an advertisement for edge polishing. We would really need to investigate, but it does open up a wonderful opportunity for first contact. Commander,
and I should
yes.
just sorry to interrupt, Doctor, but I'm not saying we shouldn't investigate. I'm merely challenging our Milky Way biases, shall we say?
Kato, have you tried opening the Troy channel, as you're so fond of saying?
I don't think the Troy channel is close enough to affect this message.
Well, it's interesting you say that, actually, Aegis, because there are instances where long range projection of emotions can be perceived through subspace links, such as used on view screens. It's not quite as accurate. In fact, it usually boils down to a sort of general feeling of what is blatantly apparent on the view screen itself. For example, Captain, I sense the Klingon is angry. But it is in fact possible. I could open myself up if the recording might impart some of that. But well, if it's a repeating message, then presumably we can pipe in the live feed. Is that right?
I pipe in the live feed.
And I'll tap into the Troy channel.
Okay. Give me a control and a medicine at a difficulty of 3, please.
The Troy channel is unreliable as always.
Yeah, it's a bit fuzzy at the moment. Someone needs to wriggle the aerial. I'm going to take well, can I apply my focus of linguistics? It's probably stretching
I
it a
can
bit.
give you diplomacy, I can give you linguistics, I can give you cultural studies.
Well, as long as I can take one of them, that's the important thing. And I will take a momentum as well, please.
All right.
To roll 3 dice, and then we will see what happens.
Let's go.
I can offer you a success with a complication.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
The voices in my head are telling me to do that.
You won't, coward.
No, I feel like I shouldn't. Yes, please. A success with a complication.
You're using your telepathy defiantly, huh?
Yeah.
So your telepathy actually is not just a vague feeling. You actually get a telepathic message. And the message is, please send help. Unknown disease. Please help us. Unfortunately, as part of the complication, the sheer overwhelming force of this telepathic distress call does cause you to suffer 3 stress damage.
Woof. All right. Can you please turn that off? That's not fun.
I turn off the feed.
And I grab a medical tricorder and just do a quick scan.
Oh, my
That
brain.
increases the probability
Thank
that
you.
this species may be telepathic if they are sending a telepathic message through a live feed. I do
You're,
apologize. Is my voice currently too loud for you?
frankly, all the colors in here are too loud for me.
I dim the dim the room.
Well, I'm
That,
sorry that my shades of
no,
gray
that
are
wasn't
so
what.
unpleasant for you, but
That's not what I meant. But thank you both for your. um, uh, yes. Okay. So your powers of observation aside, Aegis, they are indeed a telepathic race, Commander. Um, there's and this is indeed a distress call if I'm picking it out correctly. It's obviously I was sort of yes. They definitely want some kind of help, and it appears to be related to an unknown disease, or an unknown disease to them at the very least.
were you able to glean anything else about the symptoms, or was that contained within the telepathic
it,
message or impression?
it wasn't that kind of detailed analysis, I'm afraid,
Well, then we
Doctor.
have to work on making certain that we can decode the message itself.
Which was what I was about to suggest. Yes, that the message itself might contain more details. This was very much a I hesitate to call it a surface level um,
It was the
emotional
emotion.
feeling, but there was a definite message included in it, but no specific details.
I see. On a meta level, ELH,
Yes.
could I spend 2 momentum with the group's approval to basically represent Matan contacting the 3 sick bays on board the ship and having them ready the vessel for the treatment of some unknown biopathogen or disease so that they now know and they can plan for addressing it?
And especially for a silicon life form, since that would not be what we're normally geared up to do.
I like it. Yeah, you certainly may. And I'm actually already put it in Foundry. You now have prepared sick bays 1 as a scene trade.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
As long as everyone else is okay with that.
I object.
Okay, then we pull back on that.
No, it's perfectly fine. Yes,
So
all good.
as they're having that little conversation, Matan will just tap his comm badge and inform the other sick bays.
All right. Now, because I need practice with the accent, you actually get in contact with Sickbay 2, who is a Tellarite, question mark.
No.
And he basically says something along the lines of, this is not how you're supposed to be doing a medical thing. You know, we are very much we are not prepared for the silicon life forms you are speaking of, Matan. You know, what is it you are expecting us to do? Are we supposed to revamp all of environmental controls? I mean, what is it you are expecting us to do?
And
Yes.
recognizing that's a Tellarite, Matan will just sort of like grimace momentarily and say, well, I'm expecting you to do your jobs. If that's too much for you, then I'll have one of my nurses replace you.
Your nurse, she is very strong, but she does not have the heart to be a true medical professional.
Incorrect.
Is he from? Are they from?
Nurses are very much medical professionals. I'll have you know.
Yeah, I believe that he's from Labois, France, yes.
It was either that or Moscow. I wasn't sure.
That's a good question. Perhaps one to pose to Igus. Do you know? You have access to all personnel records, after all.
The Muscovy is a city on Tellarites, most northern continent, which has an accent which is mixing the Terran French and Russian accent by the words of Captain Kirk, or Admiral Kirk, but he was a captain at the time.
Well, he always did his best work as a captain, so.
Anyway,
quite.
Am I replacing him with a nurse since it may be actually they may be actually better at their job since they won't complain as much needlessly?
If you replace what I am telling you, you know what? All right, we'll do your stupid thing. We'll get ready for the silicon life forms.
Matan out. So you just have to know how to deal with certain people in a certain way. Regardless. Commander, shouldn't you be working on the linguistics analysis?
I'm terribly sorry. I was waiting for some kind of analgesic for my migraine, but yes,
I
yes,
gave
yes,
you
yes.
a hypospray.
They've already given it to you. Are
Oh
you
well,
experiencing like a lack of touch?
yeah. I'm also experiencing short-term memory problems as well as short-term memory problems.
Oh,
I think that last one is a is a joke, but
hmm.
What last what?
precisely.
Um. Anyway, what was it you wanted me to do? Sorry, I seem to have
Well, I
grayed
just want you
out
to
there.
rest assured that brain damage is temporary.
Oh, good. I do.
That's how brain damage works. Don't worry about it.
Yes, yes. Is this like how you were explaining radiation to me the other day? That it's fine up until a certain point, at which point it's immediately fatal.
Yes, let's go with that.
Yes, I seem to recall that being like you
Hmm.
could be fully exposed to a powerful radiation surge for several minutes, and it was only at like minute 7.1 that it became a fatal and
Why are
irreversible
all the
problem.
organic crew trying to kill themselves in various dangerous means?
No, we were just having a discussion about radioactive isotopes and other similar things.
This
It's
was
perfectly
completely hypothetical, and you weren't planning to radiate yourself as proof of concept.
well, not planning to. No. Anyway, if you wouldn't mind, AJ, you seem to be distracting me a bit from my task. I need to translate this message, if you don't mind. I wonder actually if I could get your assistance with this.
I was going to offer it.
Well, good. And I'd like to just pick up a pad, start on a console, do something to try and translate this message.
All right. So let me take a look at your focus here. You obviously have linguistics as a focus.
Mhm.
I do
I
have
think this
linguistics.
would be a reason and command here because you're trying to decipher language.
Mhm.
You
As
do
a
you have
reminder, you
linguistics
do
as well?
have cautious command. So if you buy at least one die with momentum, you get one reroll. And I'm just looking to see what other things you have since it's been a hot minute. Open book doesn't help you. Backup plans actually
Right.
might if you fail.
Can I get some kind of? Well, I've already got a focus. I don't know what the difficulty is going to be, but can
Oh,
we
right.
consider? Oh,
Difficulty of 3.
so with that in mind, I have now had this telepathic contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
Might I talk you down to a difficulty of 2 because I might have a firmer grasp of the language, or at least a sort of underlying sense of what the language might be based on, or how the syntax is formed, etc., etc.
I'll give you one better. I'm going to make a scene trait that is Kato Psychic Insight. And anytime Kato does something related to these creatures, these aliens, relating to telepathy, language, whatever, I will reduce Kato's difficulty by 1.
I'll take it. Thank you. So with that in mind, so this would be then a difficulty 2.
Yes.
What am
Cool.
I
Okay.
assisting with, Age?
You are assisting with probably a reason command on you as your part as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Oh,
that's
that's me
one
rolling 2
successful.
dice.
Oh yeah.
Apology. Do you want me to re-roll
No, we'll
that?
just take the 8. You're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you mind if I take the momentum?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Let's do that then. And then that gives me cautious command in case anything goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, why would anything go wrong? So you got 4
yeah.
successes. You're
So,
I mean,
fine.
everything's
yeah.
fine.
Everything's
So that is
fine.
5 total successes, bringing you up to 4 momentum once more. And yeah, actually, Kato, with your psychic insight, you are able to decipher the message. And as Matan stipulated, at least I think it was Matan, I'm having one of those moments. There is
He
actually,
inject you as well, did
yeah,
he?
Matan's insight is correct in that there actually is some medical data concealed within the message, and it is one of those things where once you translate this and show it to Matan, what you're looking at is, of course, you can flavor it however you like, but this is the equivalent of a biologist on Earth discovering something that is so beautiful and so new and so unknown, but at the same time, so very, very deadly.
Oh my. My experience with non-carbon based life forms is admittedly somewhat limited, but I suppose it's the silicate nature of the disease, the vector itself, that makes it so strangely compelling. Just on a chirality basis. Um, the species has been infected with some kind of silicon based pathogen. It's disrupting their, well, I can't say it's an endocrine and nervous system because they don't have anything quite analogous to that, but it would be roughly equivalent to that. It's causing their nervous systems to decohere.
You're muted,
Right.
Techno.
No, he's just
No, I was just making mouth. I was just making faces. It's all good. Is that treatable?
well, the symptoms temporarily, but it's a progressive illness from what I can gather of the life form's general organization. I'm admittedly somewhat in the dark
Would
here.
this pathogen be able to
Aegis,
transfer
could you raise the light levels again, please?
I do so. Would this
Does that help,
pathogen...
Doctor?
Very funny. Yes, that's not the time, Commander.
Would this
You may have
pathogen...
one momentum for that cheeky joke. You just have a momentum. Why not? There you go.
Would this
Anyway, sorry, I
pathogen...
was interrupting you, I guess. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bean.
I guess just pouting at the corner. I just invented to speak. Would this pathogen be able to transfer into a carbon-based life form?
I'm going to say probably not, but let me ask you, GM, what do I think about the possibility of this having an effect on carbon-based life forms?
Even if it's not the same thing, like it's attacking what is equivalent to their nervous system, but it may attack our bone structure because that's the hardest point in our body.
I'm just looking at your talents here, Matthew, because again, it's been a hot minute. Let me see. Yes, you actually have regimented mind, which means if you spend a momentum to obtain information, you may reduce the difficulty of one task later by one, as long as it's related to the information gained. So, yes, if you spend a momentum to ask that question, I will answer truthfully.
All right, I will do so then.
All right. So, yes, actually, it is, if you're looking at this data correctly, there is a chance, it's a small chance, but there's like a 4 to 5% chance that there is a way it could bridge the gap, as it were.
Well, it can't proliferate within carbon-based life forms systems in the same way that it would in a silicon-based life form. It doesn't have the raw material to reproduce. Nonetheless, there is a small possibility that, well, it would be introducing a fundamentally foreign body into our bloodstream. It could have some rather disastrous effects.
Hmm.
Would our current EVA suits be able to stop this pathogen? Since it's not something that we have encountered beforehand.
Would you like to
Well,
spend a momentum to ask that question?
yeah, I think I will.
Your current EVA
Sorry,
suits
Techno.
are not going to be able to filter this out. Actually, for even more fun, the transporter buffer will also be unable to filter this out, which means you have to come up with an inventive way not only to treat them, but even study this thing.
I don't believe that either our environmental protection suits or a transporter's biofilters, given the nature of this silicon life form, would be sufficient to protect us or filter out the disease. I'm Force fields would work. I seem to recall the old Enterprise using something akin to a force field belt to explore hazardous regions when they didn't have EVA suits available. That technology could be replicated and perhaps put to use here, but that's not my area of expertise.
Could we retrofit one of the hangar bays to be able to be a medical center for this creature? Because my security protocols when it comes to quarantine, even though I do not have control over that, would suggest that we would not have it be inside one of the main medical centers of the ship, or even transferred through most of the ship if possible.
I don't believe that there's a way we could be certain that it would remain quarantined to one of the cargo bays. We could take the Amaterasu and, well, limit potential exposure. And I'm certain that any one of the physicians on board would be willing to expose themselves, if necessary, to effect an attempt at treatment.
Is there any danger to the ship, or indeed to the Amaterasu? I know that Aegis's body, for want of a better term, is partly formed with bioneural gel packs. That certainly forms the vast computational sections of her body. But what about the more isolinear or silicon based components within the ship?
I would surmise that yes, it would potentially be dangerous, but given the limited data on hand, I can't make any determination at this point. Nonetheless, I think that caution would be warranted.
Well, indeed, this was why I mentioned it. Perhaps not to convert a cargo bay or a shuttle bay, or really bring any samples aboard the ship until we know more would be my recommendation. I'm obviously not a medical professional, but that would seem prudent.
I couldn't agree more.
Oh, I strangely thought I'd have to argue with you on that one.
No, I don't believe we should bring any samples on board the ship, but a small team of volunteers might beam down with some supplies and the research tools necessary to begin investigating the disease.
And I think Commander Mara just looks impressed at all this and says, well, assuming that you three are about to volunteer, just know that if everything goes south, I will put an accommodation into your file for bravery.
Well, that, of course, makes it all worthwhile, Commander. Thank you.
I mean, we can also throw you a really cool, death party where we do the Klingon way and we have a celebration.
Yes, could someone play a trombone?
I'm more of a saxophone player myself, but sure.
Alto or...
Yes.
I'll take it.
A point of order. Might I request the recitation of some poetry of my own devising? I'll spend a few minutes just whipping something up.
I'd be happy to read poetry. Sure. What's the subject going to
be? Well, about my death and life, if the worst happens.
Okay. Are we talking like natural Cardassian poetry, or
would you like a haiku?
Well, I've never really been fond of that form. No, it's a form of choral ode, really, that predates the Cardassian Union's formation, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. I could read it. I kind of know a little bit of Cardassian. It might be a little rough around the edges, but it won't be as bad as Lieutenant Shifty is. Lieutenant Shifty being the Tellarite in sickbay too.
Oh,
we don't talk about Lieutenant Shifty's poetry. It has to be saved to my hard drive.
And you see, as I was talking to the Cardassian lapdog about how he wishes to treat me, I thought to myself, well, fuck that guy. Sorry, I just had to get a little thing in there.
I mean, there is a sort of a visceral and earthy nature to that poetry.
I have this uncommon migraine as it's saved my databases.
I'm not entirely sure why you felt the need to play us an audio clip of it, but it's certainly very evocative in a Tellarite sort of.
He did not.
You're right. Saying earthy probably was a little bit offensive, just on a species.
He sent that.
Well, I mean,
message to this medical bay. I did not play it.
We all have our faults, Doctor.
Anyway. I presume we're all volunteering for this since you are talking about death poetry and trombones. I have also made a mental note that if you are to spontaneously die, this is part of your dying wish.
Oh no, if I spontaneously die, then the requirements are very different.
Really?
Please write a will so I will be able to know the exact way to treat and honor your death.
I'm surprised you've given thought to spontaneously dying and what arrangements you'd want in that case. You're a rather young man. I wouldn't have expected that level of forethought. That's impressive.
We work in space, Doctor.
Space notoriously wants all organic life to die.
Well, I wouldn't ascribe a particular feeling to space, the void between, the small pockets of life and air and etc. etc.
If it's not trying, then it is really, really doing well without even trying.
Well,
I would say it's just indifference, really.
I wouldn't even ascribe that level of anything to it. I think it's more foolhardiness on the part of organic life to even venture into such a dangerous environment. I use the term foolhardy in a quite
So are you saying that
aspirational manner, I
organic life should
suppose.
stay on planets and that
No,
synthetic
quite.
life should have the entirety of the void between all planets? That is a large territorial succession that you have given to your side.
You see, what you've done there is you've taken what was a very simple statement, and then you've extrapolated quite exponentially from that to a completely different point. It's appropriate we're in the Andromeda Galaxy, because that's kind of the difference between what I said and what you have just presupposed.
No, I think that was actually a logical extrapolation from your concession of territory to the infinite void of meaningless nothing that exists beyond the small bastions of light, life, and sanity that are our infinite.
We would be willing to give you transfer between these places in the most safest points from A to B if that's what you want.
I guess gone Skynet? Question mark.
Apparently, I've done that 3 times this week already.
Come on, Amara. I don't suppose we could erase this entire conversation from Aegis's memory, or
what conversation?
What conversation, Lieutenant Commander?
Is this the drugs I'm on again? Is this what you injected? Have I imagined this entire conversation? Am I in some kind of coma and this is all in my head?
He reaches over and gives you a jab to the ribs. You felt that, yes?
Yes, but that doesn't prove anything.
I think it does. You're conscious.
Am I? Am I consciously conscious, or am I?
I'm surprisingly good at gaslighting, even though I don't have any installed in my systems.
You could replicate those holographically.
Yes. And I replicate a Victorian era gaslight in the corner of the room.
Computer end simulation?
The simulation ends.
As in the light that you've just...
Yeah.
Right, good. Not the entire sickbay turns into a holodeck.
Darn, you saw for the plot. You laid your board mission.
No, that comes later.
Well, as stimulating as this conversation has been, I am going to go to my sick bay, which is just through that door, and you can continue to use my office if you please, although I can only imagine that you could find more productive expenditures of your time.
Doctor, would you like
Which is a very polite way of me saying get out, but...
I picked up on that, Doctor. Yes, thank you.
Right, yes, good.
Yeah.
See, you're entirely conscious, very lucid.
Doctor, would you like Aegis 24 to assist you with your medical prep?
Is that the shark?
Yes. She's grown quite accustomed to you since you praised her for her work on the drug creation when we were transporting to the Amaterasu.
But she doesn't have hands.
It's very speciesist of you, Doctor.
She does have hands, Doctor. She just usually has behind her back.
Well, that makes sense, I suppose. Yes, I would be delighted to have her assistance. Your assistance?
Well, part of me assistance, I suppose.
All right, then.
And also Shark Girl, so, tail and stuff, but humanoid appearance.
I mean, it's not a prehensile tail.
It can be.
I think I'd like to see that. That's a fascinating.
I'm concept. Am I fit for duty? Can I go?
I mean, you are no more or less fit for duty than you typically are.
Thank you.
Which hurt more, the virtual jab or the verbal jab or the physical jab?
I mean, it's different degrees of pain, to be quite honest with you, Aegis. I'm going to go and you mentioned belts. I'm going to that's what I'm going to go and do. I'm going to look into that.
I guess,
And
did I mention anything about belts?
I think we should stop torturing now. We have I've maybe exceeded that quota.
No, I'm quite serious. I don't
Oh,
recall.
the
Am
the
I
force
suffering
field,
from short-term memory loss?
the field belt that you mentioned from the
Oh,
USS
the
Enterprise.
force field belts. Oh, so I thought you meant like
yes,
belts in a car's engine.
why would I
Okay.
mean belts in a car
I
engine?
don't know. It was a very strange reference on your part.
I could understand why belts in the clothes, since that is a typical typical dress wear, and belts in a car engine is not typical at all these days.
Well, no. In fact, outside of holodeck simulations, I don't on Earth. I don't think I've and Dixon Hill novels, of course. I don't think I've ever even seen an automobile or anything that would drive on some kind of belt system that like that. Why would that be the first thing that you're?
I'll admit, because of their at least somewhat analogous experiences, I was looking at some of the logs from the Starship Voyager, and apparently Tom Paris had an obsession with classic Earth automobiles.
Yeah, well, according to those logs, he had an obsession with anything they came across at any given time. I mean, I have a fascinating theory that in fact he had no knowledge of anything and was, as the humans might say, bluffing his way through the entire endeavor.
Oh, I always just
Um,
viewed him as a bit as a Renaissance man, but all right.
That and he needed about 15 years of downtime to learn all the skills that he exhibited through the travel of the Voyager, which I believe only lasted 7 years.
don't we have a job to do?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Good. I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to just
Tom
leave the sick bay at this
Tom
point.
Paris sneezes off in the distance under the galaxy. People are talking about me again.
Oh Lord. All right, so just to sort of speed things along, because this is already going to be a two-parter, I already know, but we'll get through as much as we can. So, just to make sure I've got the logistics of this correct, you're taking force field belts, which will contain an atmosphere, which will hopefully keep out contagions, things of that nature. Since it is needed for this mission, there is no momentum or threat cost to it. However, what I need to know is, are you going to beam down to the planet that these creatures have sent the distress call from? Are you going to take a shuttle down? Are you taking the Yatakaratsu down? What does that look like?
I think the Yakuratsu, can that hold a shuttle as well, or is that too small for one?
It's one of those things where the Yatakaratsu is about the same size as a Defiant, so it holds a really tiny shuttle.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just kind of one of those Matryoshka jaws where it's like, how many levels down do you want to go?
Yeah,
It's more
I,
a shuttle pod than a shuttlecraft, perhaps.
Yeah.
hmm. I think we take that and can we land that? Is that
Yeah,
got the
you can land
ability
it.
to? Okay, we take that down and land it,
Can we
and
land that?
I can.
Right.
Um, we take that down and we set up a home base there and use the ship shields as the starting of the belt system if we need to go anywhere. And maybe rig a small on wheels drone with two shield generators. So we're able to transport ourselves and equipment from point A to point B.
Well, I was going to suggest actually that we wear the environmental suits and then the belts so that we have kind of like
If,
they may not protect us against everything, but they certainly would be better than just the belts failing on us.
and I think that's
And
what I'm going to work on to try and reinforce those with shields to see if we can ensure that the environmental suits, even if it makes them a bit more bulky and just chuck like a energy core on the back with a shield generator, so it
Mm.
may not be the most comfortable thing and not something we permanently do, but something that, we can set up.
So one thing I'm
Mm.
actually going to do, Matthew, is I'm going to change your prepared sick bays trait. I'm going to make that just prepared away team instead.
Okay.
That
Thank you.
way you still get some use out of that momentum spend that you did earlier. And since we are transmitting this trait to be something else, I'm going to say that once again, no momentum or threat cost on the portable shield generator that will fly along like a drone.
Okay.
And Matan will actually object to using an EV suit because it limits sort of manual dexterity. And unless there are official orders handed down from the captain, he is going to decline.
Okay. I will make a note of that because I think Mara and Kafa are pretty much just going to let you guys run the show on this one.
I think I'm going to at least make space for the modified EVA suits, even if you don't want them, in case for some
Maybe
reason
that's
we do need
better.
them.
Yeah. What is the atmosphere that we're in? Is it breathable? Is it like
I was getting to that. I just wanted to figure out the logistics before that.
okay? Because I think that would inform also whether we're wearing certainly whether I'm wearing an EVA suit. But
Right. So the planet you managed to enter into orbit of is actually a Class M world. It is very, very, very green. Like I'm talking neon green, even greener than Bean is right now, with even bioluminescence to it. It is something where even just
Okay.
looking at this planet, like obviously the sensors are going to tell you it's radioactive. This planet is like Chernobyl levels of radioactive. The atmosphere is breathable, and aside from the radiation, it's not that bad. But it is something where you do have a ticking time clock for how long, as you said earlier, you have a ticking time clock to how long you can spend before it becomes a big problem. But the distress call UKU detected is actually a crashed vessel. It is a crashed vessel in a mountainous region which has active volcanoes. And what you're noticing is that the ship itself looks like an egg, and this egg is teetering on the precipice of falling into the volcano, if you want to imagine it. So it's like up on a cliff, and it's like right on the edge where just a little push would just send it into the lava below.
Right on the edge of glory.
Well, that's remarkably
Glory.
precarious.
Yes. I don't know what else to add to that. You're absolutely correct. It is, and perhaps we might want to. Could we set up some kind of tractor moorings, or use the shuttle pod to drag it back into back away from the edge, as it were?
Could I take a scan of the vessel and the surrounding territory to see if it's in, I suppose, a sufficiently stable condition for it to be subjected to the torsional force of a tractor beam?
Certainly. Let me see. I think this would be a good reason and science. I would normally say reason engineering, but I think science probably fits a little bit better here. Reason science, and then I'll do the assist. It only has a roll of a 7, but we'll find out together. Nope, the shuttle does. Unless you're doing with the Amy. If you're doing with the Amy will roll instead.
I think the Agaratsu, since
Okay.
that would be the vessel that we would be in close enough to see, if you see what I mean.
Okay, yeah, then ignore that 16. That 16 means nothing. So yeah, reason science on Matan's part, and then the Yatagaratsu will be a sensor science.
2 quick questions.
Yes.
What's the difficulty again?
Difficulty of 2.
All right. And I'll spend 1 momentum to roll 3 dice.
Okay. Well, that's already 4 successes, so you get 2 momentum right back, and then so the Yatagaratsu rolls. Again, it's a sensor science for the Yatagaratsu.
I don't know who wants to get that.
Oh, sorry. Miles away.
Senses science. Oh, if you got it, techno.
No. If you've got it open, go ahead.
Senses science. Difficulty. Dice pool of 1. Focus because it's a ship.
Mm-hmm.
2.
6
Nice.
total successes, meaning you are capped on momentum. Well done. So I actually have just good news. No bad news this time, just actual good news. Rarity on the channel.
Who are you, and what have you done with ELH?
Yeah, I was gonna say, who am I?
This doesn't go well.
The egg ship can be moved. It is in a, again, precarious position, but you don't think that locking a tractor on it will cause the entire cliffside to fail. In fact, you're pretty sure you could pick up the egg with a tractor beam and move it away from the active volcano without any issue.
Well, Commander, I've done some preliminary scans. I believe that the vessel's structural integrity is such that we can capture it in a tractor beam and move it, although I wouldn't do so without informing the crew.
Indeed, indeed. Kato, do you mind opening the Troy channel again?
In fact, that was going to be a question I had out of character: is am I picking anything up on the planet? But yes, let's do that. So what was that again? That was
Question: is Mara with us on the Amaterasu, or are we on our own?
You're on your own for this one, unfortunately. Well, you have August 24, which is all you really need. So, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, look at that. Someone's redeeming an evil complication.
Gosh darn it.
All right. So, for you, Kato, that is this time it's going to be a fitness command on your part. Mm-hmm. And the difficulty on this will be a 3. However, the chat complication will make the complication range a 17 to 20.
Do I get anything from my psychic insight?
Let me look at your talent.
It's the trait.
Yeah.
Oh, the trait. Yes, it will lower the difficulty to a 2.
Okay, but the complication range was, 17 to 20, did you say?
Correct.
Okay. Can I use any of my focuses?
You would have linguistics at bare minimum.
Okay, cool.
And we're capped on momentum.
Yep.
Oh, true. Okay, in that case, I'm going to take... I'm sorry, what was the difficulty? Did you say 2?
2. Mm-hmm.
2. I'm just gonna buy the 1 die then, please.
Okay.
And we'll
does
see
activate cautious command.
Yep. Or do I want to buy another one and just to... No, okay, I'm just going to roll as is and let's see what happens.
All right, well,
okay, cool.
I have good news. You're at 6 momentum with 1 floating, so you may wish to spend that momentum on something, but your base success, what I can tell you is that you are not only detecting that the unknown alien species who have yet to give you a name, they are very much panicking. They are very much psychically coughing, where, you know, the malaise of their condition is kind of seeping through the link. But the good news is it does not hit you as hard as the first time did. You've kind of steeled yourself this time. You don't take any stress damage. But what you realize is that once they realize you realize, kind of one of the that they know that situations, they do try to contact you. And it is the equivalent of like an entire classroom of 6th graders trying to talk to an astronaut, where it's like, hey, you're a really cool astronaut, I really want to talk to you, kind of a thing. And they are just mentally swarming you, trying to talk to you all at once.
May I suggest a advantage techno, since we do have floating momentum?
Yep.
Since this is a mental connection, it's very much emotional based. Can you make the advantage that even though you're being overwhelmed right now, you are portraying a sense of we're here to help?
Right, so calming influence or something like that suffuses through the telepathic link and affects all of them.
Because, we're in danger and unknown alien life form. It's either going to be vultures or it's going to be,
Yeah, absolutely.
People here to help us.
Is that a thing I can do with my momentum?
You certainly may. It would cost the 1 floating and 1 extra momentum, bringing you to 5. But what it would do is I'm actually going to modify the psychic insight. I'm going to rename this to psychic calming field. And I'm going to boost it to 2 rather than 1.
So what does that mean?
So what that means in a narrative sense is that you are able to single out and talk to each of these creatures at your leisure. Mechanically, what it means is it not only lowers the difficulty by 2, it also makes certain things more possible.
Right. Brilliant. Okay. With that in mind, given that there's how do I know how many entities there are shouting at me, basically?
10.
10. Okay. Am I able to just sort of like not shut them out, but just be like, okay, enough, stop that. You're talking too quickly. There's too much going on. I need you to calm down. I need you to pick a representative, and this all happening mentally. So perhaps there's nothing betraying what I'm actually doing or going through outwardly. I need you just to pick a representative, someone that I can speak to, so that we know how to help and we know what you need.
They form a nice orderly queue.
Not quite what I asked, but I'll take it. Okay. You at the front of the queue. Who are you? What's going on?
And they say a name, but the name doesn't translate in your head. It doesn't translate in the universal translator. But for the sake of meta perspective, I'm just going to call them 5 is the name that we're going to go with. So 5 says their name, and then they say, we crash landed on this planet when we were exploring, seeking new colony perspective environments. When something in the planet's natural environment infected us. And not only do we have a broken ship, but we are infected with this unknown pathogen.
I see. And 5, odd that you chose to go first, but okay. Do you have any medical expertise aboard, or have you done any analysis of this infection, or do you have any
We do
information?
not have doctors.
Interesting. Do you have geologists?
Now, that actually does translate to something they understand, because I had to think for a moment.
Mm.
Yes, we have a geologist among us. However, they are experiencing the neurological destabilization effect that we mentioned in our first message.
I see. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to lower my connection to you. Don't worry, we're still here. I just need to talk to my colleagues who are not as sensitive to this type of communication as I am. So just wait patiently. Would you like us to assist you with your ship firstly, and take
If
it
you
away
could move
from
us away from the lava, that would be
Yes,
appreciated.
that was okay. Wonderful. We will do that. Do not panic. Everything is fine. We are here to help. And I'm just going to just bring that back down.
I had a character question, because when we're on the ship, who is the acting captain?
I think actually Commander Mara would have put Matan in charge of this away mission.
Good to know. Well, Doctor, you'll be glad to know that actually, who was it that asked me to open the Troy channel? It was Mara, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got that completely wrong. So, Commander, yes. So you'll be glad to know I've made contact with the entities. The one in particular I've been communicating with. The name translates in a rough sense to 5.
Why did they go first if they were 5?
Well, you see, this is what I said, but I'm not entirely sure they I think it's more of like my brain interpreting it in the best possible way rather than a literal translation of their name.
The mysteries of the Troy channel.
Well,
Unless
yes.
5 is their communication officer, which then would make sense why they try to communicate with an unknown alien life form.
This is all very true. They are mentally forming a queue to continue talking to me, so I put them on hold, for want of a better term. Very
important question. You didn't put on Mariah Carey, right?
I'm not that cruel, Commander.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
I'm lost with half of this communication because telepathy is not my native language, nor do I understand this reference to the Starfleet medical officer Mariah Carey, I assume. Relative of Joseph Carey from the Voyager logs?
No,
she's
she
under the
is
same category as the Spice Girls.
I also don't know what that is.
Used for psychological warfare.
Not sure if that's Matan or Matt that's saying that.
Yes.
But could you please get to the point, Commander?
I was trying to do so. They've obviously crashed on this planet while doing a survey of said planet. They've become infected with something, although the details are unclear to them. Their doctor, for want of a better term, although geologist appears to be a more suitable or certainly more understood term, is suffering from the quote unquote neurological damage that this infection is causing.
Degenerative neurological effects of the disease, yes.
Yes. So it has been unable to help them. They may have more information, but Commander, they have asked that we assist them with moving their ship away from the precipice upon which it sits. And as the doctor has quite rightly scanned, it should withstand a tractor beam in order to help us facilitate that.
Very good. Then let's move them out of the immediate danger. I guess, would you lock a tractor beam on them and move them quite gently, gingerly, if you will, away from the lava flow?
All right.
Because I assume Commander Mara is talking us over comms.
Yeah, Mara is talking to you over comms, where
right,
Matan is in command, but if you need Mara, she is immediately on comms if you need her. But yeah, tractor beam task. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I think yes, it's under tactical. So I guess I need you to give me a control security.
Nice.
And the Amaterasu will assist you with a structure security. The difficulty will be a 2.
Okay. Targeting systems as a focus.
Yep, definitely would apply. No help from the Amaterasu, unfortunately.
Just to make sure this pass, I would like to take a momentum.
Okay.
And let me just check precision targeting. Taking effect against enemy vessel when making attack or starship weapons. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not targeting a specific part of the ship with the tractor beam because I'm just trying to target the whole ship. But
right.
I'm guessing in a situation where I'm using the tractor beam more as a weapon, I can use precise targeting.
Yeah, precise targeting won't help here, unfortunately.
That would be horrifying. Borg cube bisecting a ship and then extracting parts of it with a tractor beam. That's precision targeting with the tractor beam. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that many successes, you're back at 6 momentum. Well done. And what does that look like, I guess? Do you just literally just pick them up and move them to the nearest spot? Do you pick them up and move them to somewhere farther away from the mountain range where the volcano is? Like, how far away are you going at this point?
So I would like to immediately spend that 2 momentum to put them on stable ground.
Okay.
So the tractor beam will lance out and then make a bubble around there, emitting, connecting onto their own shield array, even if it's not fully emitting, or maybe their deflector array, and just picking that up rather than the ship, and only occasionally just like pushing the tractor beam to make sure the ship doesn't fall apart like a bandage over a wound, and just slowly and gently move that over to an area which is astable and not experiencing direct volcanic activity. Considering it is a volcano in the area, I can't move it from the tectonic plate without moving it for ages, but you know.
I've already had and gone and made a trait for you called Stable Ground so that it is in the scene itself. Okay. So, as you move the egg out of the volcano, again, the lava is green. The mountains are made out of what appear to be some form of an emerald sort of crystalline formation. And the egg itself, when it's in the volcano, is kind of just this umbral black where it doesn't really have any features. But if you move it away from the volcano, it actually lightens up to be almost like a prismatic purple. Where it kind of shifts between some of the rainbow, but mostly the purple range. And once you put it on stable ground, let's say, again, from a meta perspective, a person that goes by 2 tries to get Kato on the Troy channel.
Just one moment, everybody. I'm getting another.
Commander, before you connect, can you find anything about how they crashed? Perhaps that was when they were exposed to the pathogen.
I will do my best. Bear in mind, I'm getting odd responses sometimes, but yes, I will do my best. Hello.
Hello, you've reached Lieutenant Cato.
Hello, you've reached Councillor Troy channel, where we have all emotions all the time. Caller, you're on the air.
You're feeling distraught right now. Maybe that's to do with the fact that you've been infected.
I feel like that should be a podcast now. Just somebody just
Councillor
call it
Troy
the
channel.
Troy Talk. That's what it's called. Troy
Troy
Talk.
Talk.
There you go. If somebody does make Troy Talk, we just credit us.
You're right.
Just
Yeah,
credit
right.
us. Just okay. Anyway, so 2 is going to talk to you, and I'd like you to imagine that 2 sounds more weary. They're having trouble forming words, but they're doing their best. And 2 says, "Thank you, moving, difficult, speaking, disease help."
You're welcome. We are working on that, and if there's any information you can impart to us about how you crashed and any details of the disease itself, then we will be able to help more.
So they don't answer in words, but they send you a mental image of the little egg ship flying around, just doing scans in orbit, when a volcanic eruption actually shoots at supersonic speeds this green rock that slams into the egg ship and causes it to careen down into the volcanic region.
I think I understand. We will be in. We will be. I will contact you again shortly. And I'm just going to sort of cut that connection again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Doctor, no specifics on the medical situation, but certainly in terms of how the ship crashed, it appears to have been. I don't want to say shot down because that ascribes a meaning to what happened, but it would seem that one of the green rocks from this volcano erupted and quite unfortunately seems to have struck the ship with enough force and velocity to have damaged it and made it and downed it effectively.
Interesting. That seems to be an astronomical coincidence.
Well, they do say in an infinite universe that all things eventually reach one.
But our universe is not infinite.
I'm simply suggesting
May
that.
I suggest yellow alert, Captain?
Indeed. Take us to yellow alert, and I guess I'd like you to scan the surrounding region. I'm not sure if the starship's sensors are, well, sensitive enough, but can you get a scan of the atmosphere? Is this pathogen that they've contracted local to the planet?
I'll also see the now stellar object to see if it has a pathogen aboard it. If I am able to still pick it up in orbit, I shall scan for the rock as well as what the captain's asked me to look for.
Precisely what I was thinking. Yes. Great minds, as they say.
All right. I guess this is going to be very difficult, but I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be... Do I want this to be a medicine or do I want this to be a science? I think medicine makes more sense here.
Okay.
Give me a reason medicine on your part. The Amaterasu will assist you with a sensors medicine. The difficulty, unfortunately, is going to be a 5 here.
Okay.
Could I argue for 2 things?
I'm more than open. What do you got?
Would this be assisted by prepared away team in the sense that we have prepared the ship with respect to the medical supplies and information necessary to analyze the disease, and therefore identifying the pathogen and its source will be slightly more easy?
I'll lower it to difficulty of 4.
And then that would allow methodical planning on my part to come in, which says when an ally attempts a task which benefits from a trait that you created, which represents your plan or strategy, and it was my preparation strategy, basically, that is represented by methodical planning or by prepared away team, you may assist.
Yeah, I like that. Why don't you assist with a reason medicine on your part?
All right. So I need to get a 4.
You need 4 successes, correct?
All
So is
right.
that sorry, just so I'm checking, is that Matan assisting instead of the ship or as well
No,
as the
this is
ship?
Matan extra on top of the ship because of a
Cool.
special
I'll
talent.
grab the ship then in that case.
Okay. So I feel like determination is in order. Knowledge
Mm-hmm.
is power. Gaining it is survival.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think I have a focus.
Nah, I'm looking at your talents, and I don't think you've got a focus here, unfortunately. Or your focuses, I don't think you've got one, unfortunately.
No. And it's a insight medicine, was it?
Reason medicine.
Makes no difference, but yes, I shall click the correct trait.
All right, and make sure to check using determination value in the perform task button since you're using it.
Yeah.
And do you
And
want to buy an extra die as well?
I'm going to buy 2 extra dice because these are not my power stats and I don't have a focus. So I think, just boosting up will help there. And I have 2 assists, so hopefully we'll be able to just get that momentum back. But I
Incoming
want to head.
complications.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's already
Hey!
5. Let's see the Amaterasu.
Does so forgive me, this is me forgetting how to play the game. Do
Mm-hmm.
I get focus on this with the
You
ship?
do. The ship always
I
has a
do.
focus.
Good. That is what I thought. I just couldn't remember. There we go.
6 total
Hey!
successes, which means you get 2 momentum back, bringing you up to 3. Chat just gave you momentum. You're back up to momentum 4. It's like nothing
Whoop,
happened.
whoop.
So here's the reason it was so difficult and the reason why this is a two-parter. Because what you realize, Aegis and Matan working together, this isn't a planet. This is a massive xeno life form
That
where
just
the lava is actually its blood. And the microbes you're looking for, the vector for this disease, those are, for lack of a better term, this organism's white blood cells that are in the quote unquote atmosphere of the quote unquote planet.
Oh, Captain, I seem to
Yes.
have made a discovery. It seems that the planet is alive more in more ways than one.
So the attack against, well, I suppose that's inherent in the word. It was a defensive reaction. The chunk of flesh.
It could be some sort of biological process that doesn't equate to an attack, but it also could be a conscious or subconscious method of defending itself.
Yes. Fascinating.
I am
A
going to
planet-sized life form.
momentum spend ELH for this.
Mm-hmm.
See if our sensor scans is irritating the atmosphere in any way that would provoke a like white blood cell like reaction from the planet.
Well, it's funny you say that because I got 6 threat and I'm going to dump all 6 of it. Because as you think to check, well, sure enough, the volcano erupts, and flying at the Yatagaratsu is another one of these green balls of lava, magma, whatever you want to call it. And since I spent the 6 threat to do this, you immediately try to divert. You try to raise your shield's already raised because of the yellow alert, but you try to divert. You try to do anything you can. Unfortunately, the ball is going to slam into you, and your engines are going to go down, causing you to crater next to the egg ship.
At least the ground is stable.
Yes, the ground is stable. We didn't even get a seed trait.
Oh, uh, damage report?
Both engines are offline, Captain, but we have sustained a minimal structural damage.
Hull integrity, shields?
Shields are up. Hull integrity is in the green still, Captain.
Well, at least we
Well,
don't have to
that's
worry about
something.
infection.
Uh, I mean, not yet, anyway.
Uh, quite.
Minor reports. Weapons are currently offline, and communications are still online. However, it is spotty. Other minor systems have also been damaged. I have put a list onto your comms.
Well, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Commander. I'm not really used to being in command of anything other than a sickbay. Get to work on repairs? That was both an order and a question, Lieutenant Commander Cato.
No, I understood, sir. I'll see what I can round up in engineering and get them mobilized and fixing whatever they need to. Sorry, I was just slightly, well, I suppose the term was petrified at falling from such a height in a ship like this. But yes, let me get on that immediately.
Thank you, Commander. I'm going to our sickbay. Now that we understand something of this creature's, well, immune system and its response, and perhaps we can use that to better treat the disease.
Captain, I have made the discovery, perhaps a bit too late. I believe our long-range scanners were the thing that provoked the organism's defense mechanism.
Yes. Well, switch to passive sensors only from this point forward, I guess.
Hi, Captain. I would also say that tricorder scanners may form irritation if we are to do the up end of the spectrum that they are capable of.
Disseminate orders to the crew to limit themselves to the lower EM frequency bands.
Hi, Captain.
And we'll limit the range of our communications equipment as well if we do that.
Well, fortunately, we have the Troy channel if we need to communicate.
Which brings me to my next question: if this planet is alive, is it in fact sentient, and indeed is it sapient? And is there anything that we can do to communicate with it? And I almost don't want to ask the question, but could that be a method by which we attempt that?
Is that safe for you, considering the immensity of the intellect that you might be dealing with?
Well, I believe somebody much more experienced than me once said that risk is our business.
I have two suggestions for this course of action.
I suspected you might.
Firstly, I believe that fixing the ship's engine should come forth before communication with the planet, unless situation decides otherwise, and that the doctor have on standby psionic suppressant drugs, just in case that you are overwhelmed or indeed hurt by this connection.
Well, it's good to know that I at least predicted one of your objections or suggestions, if not the other. Doctor?
The doctor opens up a little pocket on his vest.
So worried that you just have those to hand. But
well, it seemed prudent to always have at least one psilocybin suppressant on hand.
That's it?
It does, yes.
Why?
For your health.
Do you know how many times some sort of bizarre alien intellect has infiltrated the mind of a psionic on board a Starfleet crew?
Are you right? So you don't just carry that around all the time, regardless?
Oh no, just for you.
Well, I'm so honored. Thank you, Commander. Yes,
it's purely out of concern for your well-being.
Is good to know. Thank you very much.
Would you want to be possessed by some sort of psionic ghost?
Not again. No.
No, I didn't think so. So you're welcome.
Mm-hmm. That's why you have to keep away from lanterns.
And candles.
I wish I had thread. I wish I had thread. I don't have thread.
I feel like what was the term? Gaslighting me again? But
no, it used a regular wick and wax. Wasn't gas.
No, I understand the concept of a candle, Doctor. Thank you.
Well, we're talking about gaslights then. You really must brush up on the logs of the U.S.S. Enterprise. There's some fascinating stuff. I'm quite convinced that half of it is made up, but
well,
makes for interesting reading nonetheless.
I certainly remember a very interesting entry in the Enterprise D's logs about a candle and a planet that seemed to have derived at least some of its culture from Tellarite Prime, I believe, but or was it Scotland? I always get the two confused. Regardless, I've lost my train of thought.
You were wondering about contacting the intelligence that might be behind this
Yes, thank you, Connor.
planetary life
Was.
form.
I was certainly suggesting that it could be an option, although, of course, as Aegis rightly points out, something of that size and scope and scale may be completely incomprehensible to me, or debilitating in some way. I have no idea what it would be like to try and contact a planet. That sounds, well, certainly unique, if nothing else. But regardless, it remains an option that we could explore, Doctor.
Yes, I guess.
Should I attempt to contact the Amaterasu via laser pointer rather than the normal communication array to warn them about the effects of the planet? I was planning to use the ship one, but I can use a handheld one if you wish for me, Lieutenant Commander.
I don't think the handheld version would be necessary, I guess, but the plan to contact the Amaterasu is a wise one. Let them know that we are damaged, but conducting repairs, and inform them of the nature of this planetary entity that we've encountered while I begin to conduct some local scans. I'll try to see if there's a less esoteric and potentially dangerous way of contacting the creature. After all, it is aware of our presence, even if only instinctually. It can hear us.
It can
And
smell you.
on that note, that's where we're going to make this a two-parter. So yeah, as promised, I wanted to give Matthew a time to shine with Matan, and I think planet-sized organism, I think that's the best way to do that.
Interesting stuff. It's kind of funny that we were talking about Ego the Living Planet and Mogo before the session.
No,
but,
I was like, shit, did they know? Did I drop too many hints? I was like, ah. Oh, Lord. All right. Well, I hope you all had fun. Twist, stick around because we're going to raid somebody but YouTube. We'll see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.